Hi, everybody. It's 4 o'clock, which can only mean one thing. Yes, it's the day and the time of the week that you've all been waiting for. You've all been waiting for a full 7 days in anticipation since the launch of the show last week. So, welcome everybody to this week's episode, which is episode 2 of the Lincoln Property and Mortgage Show. Welcome on board. My name is Michael Hollenby, director at Hollenby Mackay Bespoke Estate Agents of Lincoln.
And my name's Jenny Holt, working under Your Mortgage Hub here in Lincoln.
So if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome on board. If you're watching this for the second time, as you'll know, the format for this show is in response to a lot of the questions that me and Jenny have been asked by the clients that we're working with. And we want to make sure this is about you, our audience. We're wanting to make sure that we're answering all the questions and all the concerns that you're having in the property and the mortgage market at the moment, which at the moment is a bit of a nightmare and a bit of a maze. So we're here to cut through the noise, get through all the clickbait and all the waffle and all the mixed messages you get out there, and tell you exactly what's going on in the Lincoln and the UK market. So thanks very much indeed for watching. Very much appreciated. We had a catch up earlier this morning, Jenny, and I think we were touching on just under 500 views of our first episode last week, which is fantastic. And we really, really appreciate, obviously, all of your support. And please make sure that you like our pages, all of our social media as well, because in addition to this live post, we'll also be re-editing all of this out, putting all the captions in, and Jenny the Wiz there in the background will be reposting all this out through all of our social medias in the week. We had some great feedback as well from people saying that actually they played it back throughout the week when they're out on a walk or listening to it in their car, which is exactly the purpose. If you're not able to watch it with us live, the idea is you can watch this and play it back at your leisure. So on that basis, though, if you've got any questions throughout the show, what we'd like you to do is to pop a little comment or a question in the post a comment box on your screen. But please just make sure you put your name on that for us as well. That way we can make sure that we can address your specific questions and if need be, come back to you directly. So, Jenny, we've got a fun-packed show again this week. We're going to be covering 2 main subjects today. In a moment, I'm going to be talking about the 5 most important questions that you need to be asking your estate agent when you're thinking of selling your property. And Jenny, what are you covering today?
I'm going to cover the 3 Ds. So you'll all find out what I mean by the 3 Ds quite quickly.
Fantastic. Excellent. So let's get cracked on with this week's show. And so I'm going to take the run of that to start off with. And this has come about from lots of questions and lots of conversations I have with people when I'm in their property and I'm asking them about how they've got on either with their previous estate agent or how they're getting on once they're getting valuations from other agents and those agents have been around their homes to value it. And the other type of conversation I have here is if the property is already on the market with another agent and they are making inquiries about the services that other agents, not just me, but other agents are offering. These are some of the questions that I'm saying to them about that they need to be having in the initial meeting with them, or to check the terms and conditions of their existing agency. Because it's really important, if you are thinking again of moving from one agent to another, that you check the terms of that contract to ensure that you don't incur the possibility of incurring 2 commissions and fees, basically. But if it's the first time you're getting agents around, these, I think, are the 5 most important questions. So, Jenny, do you want to pop up question number 1 for me?
There we go.
So here we go. Questions that you need to be asking your estate agent. How long on average is it taking you to sell homes like mine at the moment? Now, often when I talk to clients that, and I'll say to them, so what are the terms of your contract? And they'll say, oh, well, the asking price is going to be this. And I'll say, okay, well, that's your asking price, but what are the terms? And they'll say to me, well, my fee is this. And I said, no, that's your asking price and fee. But what we need to be looking at now is how does your agent justify the marketing and the fee with that agent? So the first question is, if you've got an agent round, is to say to them, how long on average is it taking you to sell homes like mine in the marketplace at the moment? And a good agent who's knowledgeable on the market at the moment and what their portfolio is should be able to answer you that question very, very quickly. I think this is a really, really important question because that's going to give you an indication on how long you could anticipate being on the market for, and it's going to manage your expectations. Now, to give you a bit of an idea of that, it is taking longer to sell properties in the Lincoln property market at the moment, even if you're coming on the market at a competitive asking price, which is really important, something we covered in last week's show. So don't be surprised if an agent gives you a number that you are potentially disappointed with, because they are just giving you the factual information of what is happening. But if the agent can't answer that question, straight away I'd be very concerned that they don't know their market and they don't know how is best to achieve the best outcome for you in the shortest possible time. So that's number one. We have number two. Go with the question number two. There we go. Questions number two. On average, what percentage of asking price do you achieve on the homes you have sold this year? Right. Great question, this one. Now, the reason why this is important is because the agent needs to give you the indication of what percentage of the asking price they're then achieving. Now, it's also important, Jen, I don't know whether it's gone, whether that screen is still up. There we go. Sorry, guys. That's the benefit of live. The reason why this is important, and actually the most important question off the back of this, is what percentage of asking price are you achieving on the original asking price that you put homes on the market? The reason for that is, unfortunately, agents across the country are often targeted on just putting homes on the market, and they'll still have targets and KPIs on what they need to achieve each week on numbers of properties to come to the market. Okay. And often can be the case is that you will then get tied into a long period of agency agreement, which is something else we're going to come on to. Or you could be advised to test the market at a higher asking price initially. Why this is important is because that way you can see that the agent is working hard to get you the best possible price in the marketplace at the moment. And one of the things that's important here is are they just handling an offer, so order taking, or are they actually managing your sale? Okay. Now, what I mean by that is when an offer comes in, an agent who isn't experienced necessarily in today's market, which is hard, and hasn't seen a hard, tough market where they have to work really hard to negotiate the best outcome, you could end up finding that an offer comes in which is lower than your anticipated sale, and they may get an increased offer, which could then still be 5, 6, 7% less than your asking price. Now, the reason why I say about it being about the original asking prices, in that period of sole agency, it could well be that the agent will then be advising you to bring the price down, week after week after week until it hits a point where it's going to sell. And the average asking price usually drops between 2 and 3% from what it was on the market at previously. There's reasons for that, but that's the average in Lincoln. So it's important that if a property came on the market for argument's sake at 200,000, initially a buyer will come in with an offer usually around about 5% less than the asking price. Okay, so let's say, for example, we get an offer of 190,000. It's often the case that the first offer by the owner is rejected, and then the negotiator in the office or the sales team in the office will go back and look for an increased offer, and maybe that person will go to 192,500, let's say. At this point, the agent needs to demonstrate that although they've got that increased offer, are they working as hard as they can to get the best price from that client? So have they gone back and asked for even more, or have they then started to have the conversation with you as a homeowner to say, the market's tough, there's not many buyers out there, it's taken these many weeks to get this interest, etc. We're coming up to the quietest part of the year, run up to Christmas. So there's almost, I'm not going to say pressure, but there's almost a focus for you to look to consider of taking that offer. At that point, you as the homeowner might then need to take a decision about moving forward. But nobody went back and asked for 195 or the asking price. And why this is important is if you can just get an extra £2,500 to take it to 195, you've now achieved much closer to your asking price. But if you work on an average of an agent charging 1% fee, if that agent can go back and get you an extra £2,500, you've just paid your estate agency fees. So it's really important to ask that question, what percentage of the original asking price are you achieving on your sales? That way you can see how hard the agent is working to get you the price that you want to achieve on your sale. A little bit longer I've spent on that one, but that's a really important one because that will show whether you're going to achieve the best sale. Because The most expensive agent is the one who negotiates the lower price for you, not the one who charges the least amount of commission. Okay, hope that makes sense. Any questions out? Come back and let me know on that one. Question number 3, please, Jenny. Okay, how long will I be tied into a selling contract with you for? Okay, so when I was asking those questions earlier about what are your terms, a lot of people don't understand or realize that they are going to be tied in with a sole agency agreement or a multiple agency agreement with that agent for a minimum period. And that can be from 8 weeks, 12 weeks. I've seen 16, I've even seen 20-week contracts. And that's also important because I talked earlier about agents bringing pricing down. If that agent has got your sole business for, let's say, 16 weeks, and it goes on the market at a slightly higher price or an ambitious price in the marketplace, guess what's going to happen over that 4-month period? They're going to keep talking to you about bringing your price down. Now, sometimes there is an argument and there is a need to do a price amendment, but an agent should be working with you about giving you best advice on that rather than just keep talking about chipping the price down. Okay. So it's really important to establish on day one, how long are you going to be with that agent for? Because if you're unhappy, if the agent isn't doing what they promise when they come out to value the property and put it on the market, and they're not obligating the terms of their service, you're not able to move. Basically, you can't go and use another agent. You have to keep it on the market with them, but for that period of time. So it's a really important question. How long am I going to be tied in with a contract with you for? Okay. Next question, please. Okay, so talking about the pricing then. If you haven't found me a buyer after 8 weeks of marketing and I choose to bring the price down, what do you then do as an estate agent to help relaunch the property at the new price? Now, you might think that that's a really straightforward answer. And 9 times out of 10, you're just going to see it on a new price on Rightmove. Yeah. Now, in the background, Rightmove will then push that property back out to people who have got property alerts. And the chances are, if you're addicted to Rightmove, like most of our watching the show, you're going to get an alert to say the property has come down. Also, if you do a search on Rightmove and you put new for that week or the last 7 days, not only the new properties coming onto the market will be shown, but also new price properties. Okay, and it's something again that we covered in last week's show, that we've had over 100 price reductions in the 14 days prior to the show last week. So there are lots of reductions. But the question is, if I bring the price down, what are you going to do to relaunch it? And that can cover a number of things. Things like rematching it up to people on their database, going back to people that have already viewed the property to advise them that there's been a price amendment. And you can do another video post. You can have an agent stood outside the front of the property announcing that the property has had a price reflection, and sometimes giving the reason. And sometimes it could be that the owner has now found a property and also needs to obviously sort of attract as much attention as possible. So there's lots of things that an agent can be doing to make sure you maximize the exposure once you've done the price reduction, because almost you're bringing it to the marketplace again. You've got to start again and do all the things that the agent was doing at the beginning. Okay, so that's a really important question. Again, if you're making that positive step, what's the agent going to do to remarket it for you? Okay, and then the last question, please. So, worst case scenario, if you want to withdraw my property from your agency, how long is the notice period I have to give you? Really important one. You've come to the end of your 16-week contract. You want to come away. Mr. Agent, Mrs. Agent, I want to come away. I want to give you my notice. Okay, Michael, that's fine, but I need that in writing and it's 28 days notice. What? You've just had my business for 4 months and now I've got to stay with you for another month because I've got a notice period to have to serve out to you. What that effectively means is if you put your property on the market in October, it could be February before you can come away from your agent. Who's going to put the house on the market in October and be thinking, if I haven't sold by February, that's the first chance I've got to consider taking it off the market or using another agent? That's quite daunting. So it is important, and I've used extremes there. It could be 7 days, it could be 14, it could be 28, but it's important to check those terms. Okay, so that's why I say to people, check the terms. What are the terms? And the main thing is, how long is my sole agency agreement? What happens if I bring the price down and remarket it? And if I do need to come away from you, what is my notice period that I need to give to you? Okay, so hopefully that's helpful for you. If you've got any questions on any of that, please reach out to me. Very happy to help. Jen's very kindly put my email address along the bottom of the screen here. but just check the terms of that agreement. Because also, just on a fine point here as well, it could well be that if you have a 16-week contract, you can serve the 28 days or 14 days within that 16 weeks to take you to the end if the wording will allow you to do that. Okay, so there's a lot for me to cover there. Hopefully that's been beneficial. So, Jenny, over to you, the 3Ds.
The 3Ds. So what are the 3Ds? Now, unfortunately, guys, it's not the most cheeriest conversation I'm about to have with you, but it is necessary, and it is that time of year. So the 3Ds are debt, death, and divorce or separation. So in the industry at this time of year, we do see, unfortunately, these three things start to show up a little bit more. And the reason for that is just the time of year it is. So we know that the NHS is overrun with everything at the moment. And unfortunately, due to that, we see more people passing away, which means there's lots more houses that start to come on the market in sort of December, January time, and that is going through that probate basis. Now, if you're selling that property, a couple of things that I want to talk to you about how to manage that is you have to remember people will grieve at different times. So if there's like more than one party involved in sort of selling the property, there must be that grieving process. One may want to do it quicker than the other, and actually if you've got a buyer caught in all the middle of that, that can be that can elongate everything that it needs to do and make it a much harder sale for you. And on the flip side, if you are buying a property that is going through probate, a couple of questions that I would definitely be asking your estate agents, as I'm sure Mike will vouch for me, is probate sorted? Because probate can take months and months. So if you've agreed a sale, maybe it's done on a quick sale, or maybe you've got to be out of your rented property, or you've got part of the chain, we need to know where at that stage is the probate sorted. That's a really important question to ask. And the other question to ask is about them as individuals, really. Have we got agreeable parties, or is there, someone maybe over in Australia that we need to get hold of so that they can sign the documents? Because again, if we've got families that are spread out throughout the world or even the UK, that again can slow things down, and you must be aware. And that can really impact on what you pay for the property. If you're willing to wait, you may get a price reduction compared to someone who is looking for a quick sale. So the other D is debt. Unfortunately, mortgage arrears are up. They're up 29% from this time last year, according to the Bank of England. And we expect that to rise as people are coming off the lower rate products in the next 12 to 18 months. So if you're in this situation and money is starting to sort of grab a hold of you, as it was, there are a couple of things that we can do. So if you do see that you're building up the debt and we've got some equity in the home, we can potentially use that equity to repay that debt. That gives you one manageable payment. Now you can go direct to your current lender, or there's what's called a second charge, which is almost like a second mortgage that you can bolt on that may be able to facilitate that for you. Massive caveat, you probably will pay more interest, but sometimes we need that stopgap and those lower monthly payments. Now, in the worst case scenario, you may be asked to sell the property, or you may need to downsize. If you're in a current mortgage deal, you may be able to port that for you, so you avoid any early repayment charges or penalties that the lender will have there. And if you are buying a property, we call it a distress sale, which basically means someone is having to sell quickly because they can't afford to pay the mortgage, or the debts are spiraling out of control. It will be quite an emotive sale. So you have to remember that they are probably going to be looking for a super speedy sale, and you may feel the pressure, but you're probably going to pick up a bargain on the back of that. Okay. And then the third one we've got is divorce. Now, crazy, we see a lot of this happening, and I've had 2 or 3 clients this week alone come to me and saying, Jenny, unfortunately, my relationship has broken down. What can we do? And it's one of those things where Christmas is coming, the new year is coming, it's a new me. I'm not going to have this relationship moving into the new year, or the thought of spending Christmas together is too much. So as morbid as it may sound, we do see a lot of this coming through. And in January, there's a bit of a flurry on houses that are being sold due to a separation. So if there is a house sale due to a separation, again, one party could potentially take their current mortgage, to a new home. Okay, you could potentially look to buy out the other party if that's something that you wanted to do. But remember, a massive caveat, if it is a little bit bitter and you are both 100% owners, so you are on what's called a joint tenant agreement, if one party doesn't pay the bill or the mortgage, it can impact you. Even if you've moved out and you have an agreement, the lender will chase anyone that they can to get their money. So if one is being stubborn and they're refusing to make any payments, it could impact both of you on your credit files. So just be cautious of that when you're making any form of agreement. And then again, if you are looking to buy a property, again, that's someone's going through a divorce, it can be quite a stressful process, because if they are not in agreement, you could be making agreements with one party and the other party is just completely going against this. So again, you have to give them time. It can take a little bit longer in some instances, but in other instances, they want it over and done with and they want it super, super quick. So you need to be prepared for both. So that is the 3D. That's death, debt, and divorce. And it is coming into that season. If you are in any of that situation, whether you're buying or selling, reach out to your mortgage broker or your lender. We want to help you. We want to make sure we get you through this. Mental health in all of these situations is huge and it can really impact. So please, it's not all about the finances. There is the emotional side to it as well that we need to remember.
Yeah, really, really good point. You've covered some really big topics in there. And again, as an agent, I deal with these things on a daily basis, as you do as well, Jenny. And, ultimately, it's about being upfront, creating a relationship, keeping that communication and building trust with the people that you're working with to get the best advice possible. Like you say, it is one of those things that, it is, like you say, it's seasonal, and it does happen on a day-by-day basis. These are the real cases that we're dealing with. And that's another reason, again, like we said at the beginning of the show, that's another reason why we're tackling sometimes these difficult conversations, because we know that there are people out there in Lincoln that are needing this advice. So again, if it's any advice that you're needing, again, please make sure that you reach out to Jenny. All the details have been running along the bottom of the screen as well. So there we go, guys. There, the main topics that we wanted to cover off with you today. The next show will be next Tuesday, the 17th of October, usual time at 4 o'clock. And we've got 2 topics we're going to be covering then in next week's show. And my topic is going to be, how can you maximize the attention and exposure of your home when you bring it on the market with an estate agent? Jenny, what's yours?
So mine is something that people tend to forget, and it's crucial to any mortgage application you're looking at, and it's your credit file versus your deposit. They go hand in hand. So I'm going to talk you through how you can maximize both parties to get the right mortgage for you.
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to listening to that bit myself as well. So that's great. So that's next week, as I say, 17th of October at 4 o'clock. But again, don't forget, you can watch this at any point by liking all of our social media posts as well. Make sure you like those social media. Again, it gets our engagement up and means that you don't miss out, not just only on this show, but any of the other market updates, anything else that's going on within our own companies as well. You make sure that you don't miss out on any of that as well. So thanks again for watching. Really appreciate it. Really, in fact, we've had a number of people watching today, I can see, and yeah, lots of engagement. So thanks ever so much indeed. Again, don't forget to like the pages, and we will look forward to seeing you again next week on the Lincoln and Mortgage Property Show.